86% of people in the profession do not feel comfortable asking for help with burnout. We also found that even if resources are available, there's still a stigma attached to it. As a leader of an organization, you have to display that openness, that transparency, that vulnerability, because then that'll open it up to others to feel comfortable talking about it.
Welcome to Deduct This, powered by ProConnect Tax. This is where tax professionals come together to share ideas, experiences, and fresh perspectives to help you grow your practice and your future. We're glad you're here. Let's get started.
Hi, and welcome to Deduct This with Carrie and Lexi. I'm Carrie.
And I'm Lexi. Today we have a great conversation that really hits home for so many in the tax and accounting industry. Mental health, especially during the busy season.
I am very excited. We have a friend of ours, Randy Crabtree. He is a CPA, he's a firm co-founder, and he's also a host of his own podcast called The Unique CPA. Randy has been incredibly open and honest and passionate about this healthcare journey and this topic. And I'm so excited to talk about all these different parts of burnout and boundaries and building a sustainable career. So thank you, Randy, for being here with us today.
Well, Carrie, Lexi, thank you so much for having me. This is exciting. I am really looking forward to having a fun discussion with the two of you today.
So let's start with your story. So, you've been really open with your peers. You've been open on your podcast about facing health challenges while running a firm. And so how did that experience that you personally had change how you think about mental health and this profession of tax and accounting professionals?
Yeah, that's so we have like 3 hours, right?
A little less.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah. So for me, it's weird. It's a weird journey from a standpoint that early in my career, I was dealing with burnout, but I had no idea what I was dealing with. I didn't know it was burnout. I just thought this is what happens when you're an accountant. You just work a lot of hours, you get tired, and then you take months to recover. And so I kind of just was going through that cycle. But what really impacted me was, and you've heard the story, and I think a lot of people have, but 11 years ago, I had a stroke. And that stroke that I had kind of really woke me up to a lot of different things. I was very fortunate with the stroke that was physically, I recovered very fast. It was within months, everything was back to normal. And really it was within almost days, almost everything was back to normal.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, no, thank you. It was but what happened was it was a 4+ year struggle mentally. And this is what really started to open my eyes to a lot of things. So I was struggling because I allowed my mind to play tricks on myself. And it was just a mental thing. It was, hey, you're going to have another stroke. You're going to die. You're going to, never see your kids graduate college. You're never going to meet your grandkids. You're never going to see your kids get married. All these things, I'm going to leave my wife alone. What's she going to do? It was just started accumulating in my head. And after I say came out of that, after everything resolved, after I realized that I didn't have to think this way, I started looking at what I was doing in business. And was I telling myself lies? Was I allowing my mind to play tricks on me in business as well? And when I looked at that, I'm like, yeah, I was. And so I started to reevaluate everything I was doing. I started to, put emphasis on the things that I enjoy doing, the things that I'm good at, the things that really bring me joy within the profession. But it just didn't stop at me. I started looking at the profession in general because I'm passionate about the accounting profession. The people there are so amazing to me. But I looked at it and I thought, we all do this to ourselves. The tricks my mind was playing on me, post-stroke are the same types of things we tell ourselves in this profession. We have to work 80 hours. Tax season has to be crazy. We have to, do this because we've been doing it for 80 years. We have to do that. We have to work, weekends, all these, whatever it is, we have to help everybody. That's our mindset. We have the answers. We have to help everybody. So sorry, long answer, but that's really what got me going in. Let's reevaluate everything we're doing and let's look at the way we can make this profession as good as it possibly could be.
Thank you for sharing. And you're exactly right. In the profession, it's almost like there's an unspoken badge of honor associated with being just busy or like on the brink of burnout. Like people talk about it like almost as like with pride and right and really not just the profession but in culture now as a whole, right? But specifically among the tax pro, why do you think this is something that is just continued to be something that is a badge of honor?
Yeah, you said it exactly. It is, what's one question you ask, or people will tell you, "Oh, I worked 3,000 hours this year." Like,
Yeah.
wow, good for you.
Yes.
No, no, bad for you. This is
Yes.
not the way it should be.
Right.
But that's what we take pride in. And we're actually kind of programmed this way from day one in accounting. And for me, I mean, I can go different directions with this, but for me, one of the biggest culprits is the billable hour. Because
Hmm.
what do we value? We value our time. Our time's important. We're only worth what an hour's worth to us. It's, okay, I'm worth $500 an hour. And so the more hours I put in, that's how I'm going to prove my worth to whoever I'm working for, whatever firm I'm working for. And so to get ahead, what's the mindset? The mindset is I have to put in more hours. And so that by itself causes burnout. We're focused on the outcome. I mean,
Hmm.
the hours, the input, the number of hours that I can sit at my desk and work, rather than the outcome. What did I deliver? What was the value I gave to this client? And so it's just that mindset of, hey, we've been billing by the hour for 80 years, and so this is what we have to keep doing. And if we can just change that mindset and figure out ways that we can build differently, there's 100 different things we can go on this. But for me, that's the number one culprit of burnout, is this mindset that we've been ingrained.
Well,
I,
and
yeah.
I wanted, sorry, really quick. I just wanted to add to that. The next generation, they're not going to work like that.
That's
They
what I
don't
was going
want
to
to
Nope.
say.
work. Were you
Nope.
going there? It is
Exactly.
not appealing. It is not, I mean, and now with technology, they're not doing it. So it's like, how can we help everyone in the industry that this is what's happening? How can we help them, And so, anyway, it's just interesting to think about that. There is definitely a generational shift in how they think about work.
I love that. I think that is happening, but my concern is, we're AI and everything. Technology is huge. You all know this. What's going on with the profession and the
Hmm.
technology coming in. And there's going to be that younger generation, or more progressive, more innovative firms that are going to take advantage of that technology and realize that free time doesn't have to be filled with more work. It can be
Hmm.
filled with more work. It's overplayed, but more work-life balance.
Yeah.
And so, but my concern is there are going to be those that like just keep billing by the hour, and I'm getting things done quicker. So now I have more clients I can help, and it's not going to change their bottom line at all. And we have to have a different mindset. Mindset is so key to all this. And so we're just going to have to change that mindset. Maybe it's simple, like put in a technology fee into what you're billing now, or something that you can do different, but you don't have to fill that free time you had with more work, with more clients. It's funny. I was just on a call right before we started talking, and the person on the call said, "Yeah, I can't just sit if there's extra time. I have to fill it with something else." Well, let's fill
It's
it with
relatable.
going for a walk. Let's fill it
Yeah.
with
Right.
reading a book. Let's fill it with whatever, starting a new hobby, with exercise, something else. But it starts with that little change, that make that change today. And instead of, me checking my email at 8 o'clock at night, I'm going to start this new book, something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I love that. And yeah, I was going to go the exact same place. And, and you think about it, right? Just like you mentioned, is technology is almost going to force people to have this kind of mental conversation with themselves and or their firms, right? Because you're going to still do the same work, but it's going to take less time to do it. And so, but the value is still equal. It doesn't matter if the activity took you 2 minutes or 17 hours. If the
Hmm.
output is the same, you should still charge your clients the same amount. And so there will have to be a shift with regards to that because of that. And you have to just kind of think about it. So let's I think we all are in agreement of that. But the nice thing is I am hearing it more and more, even
Yes.
generationally, besides kind of the younger generations, like, I'm not going to do it. I'm hearing that, my generation, your generation, I'm hearing people say that because of the introduction of the new technology and things like that. And so,
Hmm.
like, if we want to think about it, if someone hasn't just leaped there because of the technology, what are some of the warning signs that there is either something's happening either mentally or physically that pros should look out for, especially when they're in the trenches during tax season?
Well, there's a lot, but first we ignore them. And so if we have to recognize them and then act on them, because our mentality is just power through it, work through it. And so, if you're dealing, obviously the things that we're talking about are going to lead to burnout, but warning signs that you are working too hard, that you're putting too many hours in, there's many, but one is just, you're exhausted, you're tired. And that's, we're in tax season. People are going to say, well, that's just the way it is, but there's things we could do. But so you're tired, you're waking up at 3 a.m. You're thinking about that tax return that you're going to do tomorrow. That's a sign that maybe you need to change some ways that you're doing things. But when that fatigue sits in and when that burnout starts to kick in, another sign is we just start get cynical about what we're doing. It's I gotta do this again. I can't do another tax season. I can't do one more tax return. That client, I don't want to talk to them. You just start getting negative and cynical about what you're doing. And this is a process I'm sure everybody has been through. And then what happens because of those first two, we're getting exhausted, we are cynical, is we become less efficient. And this is what I was saying at the beginning, because we become less efficient, what do? We work harder. We put more hours in. I'm not keeping up. My to-do list is growing, which that's another thing. We got to reanalyze the to-do lists. We shouldn't even have a to-do list that has more than a couple things on it. No, I'm digressing, but we, cynical, tired, less efficient, work more, and then it's just a snowball effect, because that keeps going and going and going until we just break. And then obviously that's not what we want to happen. So yes, if you're seeing these signs that you're tired, that you're exhausted, that you're cynical, that's where we need to step in and start making some changes.
Yeah, it's so true. And, just like when you're talking about the list and what we hear from a lot of pros, and I've heard you talk about this before as well, is that leaders are saying, I can't stop. My team depends on me. My clients depend on me. I can't offload some of my clients. Like, that's how it just compiles, right? Because so many people are depending on you, and that's not even your family. That's just your business, right? And
Yep.
so you've talked about, and I've heard you talk about this really well, boundaries. So let's talk about boundaries and how can we, not that they're not only helpful, but they're necessary and they're critical for your mental health and for, efficiency and for the health of your staff and others. But what boundaries have really helped you the most in your years and most recent years, really?
Well, that's where I've gotten better at it, is the last, let's say, 8 years maybe, is really where I've gotten better at this. But there's just boundaries, and we have mutual friends that are really good at this too. But setting, like Elnisha Jones is an example I use all the time.
Oh yeah.
She sets boundaries from a standpoint of, one, they work 4 days a week, and so Friday's off, and all the clients know it. Setting that kind of boundary is huge. Setting boundaries on communication with clients. There's certain times you can reach out to us. There's certain times you can't. If you reach out, here's my rules for getting back to you. Setting boundaries of work, the people you work with, that we do not send any emails or messages after 5 p.m. We don't, or before, pick a number, 8 a.m. If we don't set those types of boundaries, our natural reaction is, oh, I just thought of something at 8 o'clock at night. I'm going to send out an email so I don't forget about it. But then the expectations we set are, oh, Randy's up at, working at 8 o'clock at night, and Randy started this company. Obviously, that's the expectation. I got to make sure that I'm looking at my email 24/7 because I don't want to miss anything. So those are boundaries that leaders can actually display good behavior with, or they can make the organization that they're part of fall into this trap of 24/7 work. So those boundaries from the standpoint of, I think it's important to do boundaries on just who you work with too. I mean, we have a mindset of, especially if we're starting our firm, we want to work with everybody. but we have this mindset of helping everybody, and we have to get out of that mind. I'm going to say mindset a lot today, I think.
No, but it's
we
true.
We have to get out through this mindset that we don't have to help everybody. And just because I'm on a rant, I'm going to go another second here. I think
please.
it's super helpful if we can. This isn't a boundary, but you can define it as a boundary. I think the boundary is I'm going to only I'm only going to help people that fall within this definition of who I am passionate about working for. So I love working with restaurants. That's all I'm going to work with. So now I just set a boundary that a law firm calls me and wants me to do their accounting. And my first reaction is going to be, yeah, I'm going to help them. But if you set that internal boundary within your organization that no, we only help restaurants, I think that starts to set a stage of, okay, we don't have to help everybody as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I've said it for years that you sort of train people to understand what your boundaries are. Just like you said, I've said for years, like, don't respond to the email at 8:00, because as soon as you do it a couple times, it becomes the standard. And you have to like just go, hey, this is my personal time. This is my time with my family, or this is, we're eating dinner together, or we watch TV, or whatever it is that we're going to do. But and people don't realize that they watch. Like, the amount of times I've seen over the years, someone say, did you see they sent over a Slack or an email at 3 a.m? And I'm like, oh my God, don't do that. Don't do that. Because again, you're telling people it's okay to be on. And that you're right. There's almost an expectations that if the leader is doing it, then you feel that you have to follow the leader, right, in what they are doing. And then that sets an unspoken expectation. Which I think people don't fully realize how profound that is of what people are watching.
I actually, sorry, Carrie. Sorry about that. So it's funny because you just said 3 a.m. It just triggered something. 2 nights ago, I was, I'm like, no, not triggered like that. I'm good. I was at a conference in Chicago, and, a lot of friends there. And one of the friends sent out a message on WhatsApp chat at 3 a.m. And I didn't see it, obviously. I didn't see it till the next morning. But then the next day, she was complaining about how tired she was. And so I immediately just said, you were up at 3 a.m. sending out messages. What do you expect? So I guess I was trying to help her set some boundaries. Obviously, I don't think any of us were looking at that message, and we're just friends. So we weren't setting any expectations. But we have to internally realize that there's things that we do and that are causing this tiredness to ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, all right. So boundaries, I think, are really important, and having that kind of mental fortitude, understanding people will see what you do. So what are other ways, if you're thinking again about, if someone's listening to this and they are running a firm, what are other ways that they can model healthy habits and really create space for mental health at work and make it feel like a safe space?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest things I think leaders can do. And I think this is often ignored because as we grow up in this profession, or any profession they're in, we grew up as leaders, we're pretty much taught from the beginning that, hey, you have to be strong. You have to show no weakness. You have to, show that you're the leader. You have to have all the answers. If you don't have the answers, it's going to look like a sign of weakness. And that's completely backwards to me. If we start to show a leadership style of vulnerability, I think that is one of the key things that's going to start helping other people. So if I can go in and I can say, hey, I just got this tax question that, maybe I should know, but I don't know how to answer it. I need help. I need help from you. I know you are good at this, rather than me just, trying to power through an answer and spend an hour researching it when I already know somebody has it. It's okay to say, and I've said this in our organization all the time, it's okay to say I struggled mentally. Because if you don't say it, no one else is going to want to admit that they've dealt with something or that they're dealing with something. I do a survey for the profession annually. It's like a satisfaction survey within the profession. And that survey shows that, and I'm going off the top of my head, but I think it was 86% of people in the profession do not feel comfortable asking for help with burnout. I mean, why is that? Yes, because we've made it like, oh, that's, you're dealing with burnout.
Everything.
Yeah. You're not, how am I going to advance if I show a sign of weakness? The converse to that, that small percentage that felt comfortable asking for help, the satisfaction levels were through the roof. I mean, there was the
Sure, that's
highest
amazing.
level of satisfaction when that 14% felt comfortable asking for help. Their satisfaction levels were the highest we've seen in anything. And it wasn't just mental health; it was long-term illness. It was all different things, and they all had a different percentage. And so, one of the things we need to do is just destigmatize the mental health, the burnout, the asking for help. We also found that even if resources are available, there's still a stigma attached to it. So we have to get rid of that stigma. So resources, as a leader of an organization, if you think, wow, we've got the greatest resources available for people, that alone's not enough. You have to go further, and you have to talk about, and you have to display that openness, that transparency, that vulnerability to say when you're dealing with something, because then that'll open it up to others to feel comfortable talking about it.
I also do think that's a little bit of a generational thing as well, because I am seeing that in some of my kind of younger employees, even my children, right, who are in their first careers and things like that. And they do feel a little bit more comfortable, I think, than the older generation to ask for help or say, obviously they're younger, so they're not going to know everything either anyway. But I do think it is important, even as like a parent, right, to go, I don't know the answer to that. I am not perfect. Please don't expect me to be perfect. And it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to lean on people. And it brings the human element, and people feel more connected when there is that human, connection with somebody else, to not have to have this perfection at all times. You can still strive to have great work and put everything, your best foot forward. But everyone cannot be perfect at all times, right? And I think it's okay to do that. So I think I love that you said that. I think that's great.
Well, and Randy, again, watching you over the years and getting to know you, I think you have role modeled this so well, the community you've built around you. And I've seen you and other pros lean on each other, and you model it beautifully. And I think that's like a whole nother podcast about community and how you build it, and how you lean on each other, and how you give each other clients that are a better fit for each other. I've seen you do that over the years. And I just think that what a role model, and it's amazing. And it's a great example of leaning on each other, asking for help, and also leaning on, learning from each other. So I just, props to you for sure. Okay. So go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I appreciate that. And I love what you just said on the community aspect and collaboration and leaning on each other. This has become a very passionate topic of mine right now. I'm actually writing a new keynote on community collaboration. And I just came up with a third C this morning, and I can't think of it right now because I'm on 3 C's. Community collaboration and
connection.
I think it was connection. Yes, you've got it.
There you go.
You've got it.
If not, there's a C if you need it.
Yep.
There's a C.
And how important that is. And the point I wanted to make is it's yes, within your organization that's important, but it's everywhere it's important. So having friends, having really good friends, and just having even 1 or 2 good friends that you can reach out to about anything. And it's not a friend that is like, that you're looking for something from. It's somebody that just you can say anything to. I just read a book by Oliver C. Brooks, I think is his name. And it talks about, happiness levels and how to create happiness. And just that alone, having these 1 or 2 close friends just increases people's happiness. It's friends and family and faith, I think, were the 3 things that he said were really created the most happiness. But as you kind of alluded to, we actually have a really cool community of people that I met on the tax council that I think that's maybe what you were talking about, that we lean on each other all the time. Yeah. And it could be anything. I mean, unfortunately, April 15th, my dog died. And that was like one of the first people at the community I reached out to is them, and just said, hey, I'm having a tough time. I need help. And they were there for me immediately. So having those friends are so important.
It's awesome. That's so sweet. Okay, so shifting gears to how you relax, how you reset, not only in season, I want to hear some tips of what you do while you're in season, but what about after season? Like, do you pre-plan trips? What do you do to make sure that as soon as the first deadline's done, you are decompressing?
Yep. And so For me personally, my tax season is different than other people's tax seasons because my tax season is right now. The fourth quarter is my, quote unquote tax season, my busy season because I'm
Hmm.
on the road nonstop, educating, going to conferences, and that's where I am super busy. This will be my busiest. I'm pretty much on a plane or a hotel until mid-December, I think, at this point.
Wow.
That's a
And,
lot.
and so what I do while I'm in that is a couple things, and I'm getting better at some of this. And this year, I'm really going to do a bit. I did last year too in the fourth quarter, but a big concentration on making sure I eat as healthy as I possibly can when I'm on the road,
Hmm.
because that's something that can get away from you quickly. And eating healthy
Yes.
and feeling healthy are so important. On the road, I always work out in the hotel gym. I love
It's
hotel
great.
gyms. And I know it's weird, but my schedule's to a point where I can usually have some free time at like 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. The gyms are empty. And so
Yeah.
that's what I do at that time.
It's great.
I also, that brings up another point. In season when I'm not traveling, or any time of year when I'm not traveling, I have on my calendar, and people in the organization knows this, at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. a walk is scheduled. It's
Good for
scheduled.
you.
This is my time, especially when I'm home. My wife's time, our new dog Zeke's time, and my time where we go for a walk. And it's 15-20 minute walk, but it's just get your mind refreshed again.
Hmm.
You just, Kathy and I just go talk about, we're going out to dinner with the kids tonight. So we're talking about the dinner, not work, not anything. So,
Love it.
so I do that. The exercise, the eating healthy, the making sure you block off time. It's very easy on the road to get invited out every evening. You have to set some boundaries there where that can't be the case. Especially in Las Vegas, where there seems to be a few conferences there.
They're all
For
there.
sure.
Oh, they're all
That can get you in trouble real fast.
Yep. So I in Vegas, I still try to keep Chicago time. So I try to get to bed, very early, 8 or 9, which is 8, 9's a little later than my Chicago time, but I do that. But then the second
That's
part of your
dinner
question,
time in Vegas.
I know, not for me. I had some friends that tried to get me to go to the club at the Aria, and I can't remember what time, but it was fairly late. And to appease them, I walked in for 5 minutes, and I walked out, and I went to bed. So setting those boundaries are important. But they were happy with that. But then the other thing you asked about pre-planning things.
Yeah.
And this is something that we've been doing since 2021, my wife and I, because busy season for me is this fourth quarter right now. January, February, March, April are not my busy time. And that's the time where I really take advantage of getting refreshed. And so what we do is we get in the car, usually around January 2nd, January 3rd, and we drive southwest, and we spend about last year was about 75 days in between Arizona
Wow.
and California, just
Awesome.
hiking, visiting wineries, working as well, but not nearly the schedule I have in the fourth quarter. And that is such an important time. And the cool thing that we do with that is, the whole thing's cool, but family comes out to visit when we're on the road too. So it's just nice that we get to have long weekends with our kids. My parents and
Awesome.
my siblings came out last year. Kathy's sister siblings and our niece, and all people come out. And so it's just a really, really nice, relaxing, still working, but keeping Chicago hours so that we're done by about 2:30 in the afternoon. So we get a lot of time to be doing other things. So
That's
that
awesome.
is, that's great. But this year, that is getting truncated to 3 weeks because on December 30th this year, we are going to become grandparents. So we're not going to
Oh, it's
leave
so
Chicago
exciting.
for nearly as
It's
long this
awesome.
year.
Yeah, no
Yep.
way. New Year's
Yep.
baby.
Exactly.
Right.
That's such a sweet new season.
That's
Yep.
so exciting. I have a Christmas baby, so it's a fun time of year. It's a lot of chaos, but it's very exciting. So let's pivot back. So if someone, we've been very lucky of people watching and listening to this podcast, and It's a way for us to, share, your wisdom with people that are listening to this, that don't necessarily always have somebody to sort of give them advice and things like that. If someone is listening to this, and they really feel like they're sort of running on empty, what would you say to them right now?
Don't just try to power through it. Recognize, be true to yourself. Don't let your mind play tricks on yourself. And this, if you're feeling this way, and I know the mindset's going to be, well, I can't get away from my desk because I got so much work to do. I have to just stay here. You're going to have to trust me on this one, but you're going to be more efficient if you let your mind get a break. If you take 10 minutes away from your desk and do the walk, just sit in a corner and breathe deep. Just listen to your breath and just concentrate on the breathing. I know people, meditation, I've tried it at times. It's great when you do it. Try a minute of meditation and do something. Get away from that situation you're in. And if you can just recognize that something's going on, not ignore it, make one little change. Don't be overwhelmed by, hey, I'll do this after April 15th. That's when I'll have time again to think about it. Don't push it down the road. Do it now. But even if it's a minute, do something. Do something different. Shut down the phone, shut down the email, sit and take 4 deep breaths, and then open things back up again. That's a way to start. But I have a longer version of that too. I have so many versions of this, of things that we could talk about with this. And I know you just wanted something simple, but you could tell me if there's anything else. But one thing I would say is, on an ongoing basis, identify what you're doing within your job that brings you joy. What are you doing that lights you up? When a client calls, when do you smile? When another client calls, when do you cringe? When you get to work on this tax return, when does it feel great to you? When you have to do, an audit, do you feel cringing again? Start making a list of those things that really bring you joy. And then it's not again, don't get overwhelmed with this is a big project and I can't even think about this. Just slowly, incremental little change. I get joy when our trucking company calls me. Well, let me just start concentrating. The next new client I get, let's be intentional about that being another trucking company, because I seem to enjoy that profession. Doesn't mean you're going to have to fire every client and just work on new ones, but make little incremental changes that every day you lean a little bit more into what brings you joy.
I love that. I feel like that's so relatable to anyone's industry, right? Like I'm over here thinking, when am I going to walk today? Because it's hard to get caught up and you look up and it's 4 o'clock and you haven't moved. You haven't even gotten water,
Yep.
So thank you. I think that's so relatable. Okay. Closing thought. Randy, you talk about mindset. You've said it. You even said it yourself. You're like, I'm going to say mindset a lot today. And I love that because it's all about mindset. What is the biggest shift that has helped you build a career that is not only sustainable, but healthy and not just successful?
So this is another area I've been doing some research in lately, because I really think that we have a mindset, if I can use that word. Oh yeah, I have used it. Of just staying and doing what we've always done. Because hey, we want to be the best technical tax person we possibly can be. But there's a point in your career where that's not and I'm going to go on a tangent here for a second, but becomes a point in a career where that's not the most valuable part of what you should be doing. And this is what I did, where I changed who I was 8 years ago, when I went from, the technical, educating everybody on tax credits and incentives to, hey, I have a lot of knowledge in other areas too. And why don't I start sharing that? And so realizing that, there's a point in time where it's going to be better for you to be a mentor. There's better for you to be a leader of people, and setting examples is important. That's not the question you asked, but that's something I want to get
it's
out.
Great. Absolutely.
And so for me, the biggest change that occurred is when I decided that I had to step down as managing partner because that's not where my passions or my skills led. I tricked myself into believing that that's where I was meant to be. I started this business. I identify as managing partner. I'm responsible for all these, 80 people that work in this organization. If I step down, I'm letting them down. But when I actually looked at that, I'm like, no, this is actually, if I stay in this role, I'm going to let people down because I don't have the passions or the skills to do this role. And I really don't like it. I actually did that analysis. Do I like this? No, I don't. Do I like starting businesses? Do I like getting them growing? Yes. Do I like managing the KPIs and the process and the procedures? No. And so when I did that, when I'd stepped down and found that new role, which is this education, I guess, role is what you would call it, it actually freed other people up in the organization to say, hey, I think I really would be better over here. I think this is really where my passion lies. Is it okay for me to change roles? And I have multiple stories of people in the organization that have changed roles and they just love what they're doing today. So if again, I honestly don't remember your question, but
No, you answered it perfectly. Mind shift, being open and flexible and being, I think that's exactly what you're saying is like,
Yep.
It's okay that if you started out at one way and it changes
Yes.
pivot,
Don't be afraid of
pivot
change.
yeah. Yep.
Fear of change is
it.
so great. And if we can just not fear the change and embrace the change. Embracing the change is a keynote I actually recently did too. And man, if we can embrace change that is positive impact on us, there's no stopping us.
Yeah.
Well, and it's inevitable. It's coming, right? Like it's here. Change is here. So love it.
I love it. Well, Randy, thank you so much. I knew this would be an amazing conversation. It's applicable to not just tax professionals who typically listen to this, but to honestly any industry. So thank you for being so open and having this conversation with us and really trying to, use this topic to move our profession forward.
Well, thank you for having me and congratulations on the success of this podcast. I'm so super happy for what you're doing.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you so much, Randy. So great to talk to you. And if you're listening and you want to hear more from Randy, because he has so much to say, so much great advice, he has his own podcast called The Unique CPA. So whenever you get a chance on your normal podcast streaming, go check him out. Randy, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Awesome. And so that's it for this episode of Deduct This. So remember, your health is a priority. Protect it, and the rest will follow.
Thanks for being part of Deduct This, powered by ProConnect Tax. If today's conversation gave you something new to think about, visit accountants.intuit.com for more insights and resources made for professionals like you. We'll be right here, helping you turn expertise into opportunity.